Dear students, welcome to the course of Introduction to Logic. From the last lecture, we are discussing about the inductive arguments and inductive logic in reasoning. And logical arguments is another type of inductive reasoning where we decide about the conclusion of the reasoning or logic on the basis of similarities between the two arguments. Mean what are the common points between the two arguments. On the basis of that we decide that where it is an analogical argument or not. For example, we know that since something x shares similar properties to something y, then since y has a characteristics a, x probably has characteristics a as well. For example, suppose that a person has always owned one type of car, that may be Honda, maybe Toyota or Subaru, and he always use it because he find it one of the most reliable car in the market. So when is going to purchase the new car, so the new model he purchase will also be Honda or Toyota or Subaru because he trusted on that car. So what is the similarity between these two analogical statements? The old car that he has, a reliable car that is also belong to a company, and the new one, latest model car that he purchases also belong to a new to a reliable company. So what is the common between these two analogical or inductive arguments? That is basically the point of that company that he relies on. So it's mean that in a logical statement, the conclusion of the argument is that this Subaru or Corolla or Honda will share the same characteristics of being reliable with the past one. So it's mean that in a logical statement we decide on the basis of what? We decide on the basis of the commonalities or similarities or the same type of properties between the two types of arguments. Similarly, my dears, if we just take another example at here, that a person who has purchased this a very valuable car, and he parked this car somewhere near the walking track, and he is just start walking there, and he saw someone or a child on the train, on the track of the train, and he thinks that the train will come and hit the child, and it will kill the child, and there is nowhere to save him. So suddenly he comes to know that there is a switch between near him, and if he will just throw on the switch and change the track by this way, so the life of the child can be saved. But suddenly he comes to know that where he parked his car, if he will change the switch, the train will and the track of the train will change, and then the train will hit his car, and that will be destroyed. So in this case, now the person will think that where I should go to save the life child, or where I should go to save my car. So in this case, now we will depend that which one thing is more valuable to him. So in a logical statement, as we have told you, that it based on similarities, but now at here you will think that the person who likes his car will go and save his car, and he will leave the child to be killed by the train. And if he is human, he is a loving human being, then he will switch on and change the track of the car, and will save the life of the child while his car has been destroyed. So there is some analogy here. For example, if we just make an logical statement like that one, that the Bob is the person who is doing this thing. Bob choose to have a luxury item for himself rather than to save the life of a child. One, we regularly choose having luxury items rather than saving the life of a child. What Bob did was morally wrong, therefore what we are doing is morally wrong as well. इन सारे स्टेटमेंट में ये बताया जा रहा है बेटा कि यहाँ पर बॉब पर्सन जो है वो लग्जरी आइटम को लाइक करता है, इसलिए उसने ह्यूमन लाइफ से ज़्यादा अपने लग्जरी आइटम को चूज़ किया. और हम भी अपने लाइफ में अक्सर ऐसा करते हैं कि अपने लग्जरी आइटम को तो हम सेलेक्ट कर लेते हैं, लेकिन हम लोगों की ज़िंदगियों के बारे में नहीं सोचते कि उनसे कितने लोगों की ज़िंदगी बचाई जा सकती है. तो बॉब ने जो किया वो गलत किया कि उसने उस बच्चे की ज़िंदगी नहीं बचाई, लेकिन हम जो कर रहे हैं तो क्या वो ठीक है? वो भी तो गलत है. Therefore there is an analogy between these two types of arguments. Similarly, we can say that an analogy can be constructed or can be seen or can be developed or can be made in the two types of inductive conclusion where they can be. What would be the procedure? For this purpose we have number one, that find the characteristics of the two things being compared must be similar in relevant respects to the characteristics cited in the conclusion. पहली बात यह है कि द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ द टू थिंग्स बीइंग कंपेयर मस्ट बी सिमिलर इन रिलेवेंट रिस्पेक्ट्स टू द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स साइटेड इन द कंक्लूजन. हम जिन दो चीज़ों के दरमियान एनालॉजी क्रिएट कर रहे हैं बेटा, उन दोनों की कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स जो है वो सिमिलर होनी चाहिए उन विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दैट थिंग के जिसमें हम उसको ढूंढ रहे हैं. मे बी कि वो बाकी चीज़ों में चेंज हो लेकिन शायद उसमें वो सेम हो. सेकेंड, देयर मस्ट नॉट बी एनी रिलेवेंट डायनोलॉजीज बिटवीन द टू थिंग्स बीइंग कंपेयर्ड. Sorry, there must not be any relevant disanalogies between the two things being compared. जिन दो इंडक्टिव रीजनिंग के दरमियान कंपेरिजन हो रही है वहाँ पर कोई डिसएनालॉजी नहीं होनी चाहिए. मीन कोई अनकॉमन डिसिमिलरिटीज़ नहीं होनी चाहिए उनके दरमियान. तो अगर ऐसा होगा तो द आर्गुमेंट फ्रॉम एनालॉजी दैट मीट दिस टू कंडीशन विल टेंड टू बी स्ट्रॉन्गर इंडक्टिव आर्गुमेंट्स. अगर ऐसा होगा तो ये स्ट्रॉन्गर इंडक्टिव आर्गुमेंट का वीकर इंडक्टिव आर्गुमेंट नहीं होगा. ठीक है बेटा. सो नाउ यू शुड ट्राई टू सॉल्व द एक्सरसाइज नंबर 24 where you have to evaluate that where the situation that has been cited there that have a weak inductive arguments or strong inductive argument, the analogy there exists analogy or disanalogy are there. So you have tried to solve some of the examples so that you could be able to do this it more easily. Okay, so this is our next lecture in the course of introduction to logic, and I think inshallah okay, now you will be able to understand the basic concept of analogy and inductive reasoning, and also come to know that how similarities can be constructed and how we can make that the two arguments that have been compared how many commonalities or similarities between them, yeah, the characteristic properties between them. Okay dears, so this is our lecture in the introduction to logic. Thank you dears, thank you very much.